The Chinese secret to saving money effortlessly. If you keep spending the same way you always have, you will stay stuck in the same financial position you have always been in. If you learn to manage money like the Chinese do, everything changes. In China, saving is not something you hope to do. It is something you build into your life from the beginning. It does not depend on a high salary, perfect timing, or heroic willpower. It depends on a system. Chinese families save an average of 40% of their income. Compare that to 3% in the United States or 6% in Canada. The difference is staggering. This is not about earning more. This is about managing better what you already have. The Chinese approach is built on 3 core principles. Record every yuan, eliminate what adds no value, and make small improvements every single day. First you observe. Then you adjust. Then you transform. Nothing happens overnight. Nothing requires extreme sacrifice. Everything is gradual and intentional. What makes this different is that Chinese families do not need high incomes to build stability. They need clarity. They know exactly what they spend on, why they spend, and how they can do better. They do not compare themselves to neighbors. They do not justify wasteful habits. They do not sabotage their own progress. They simply follow a method that turns consistency into financial peace. This audiobook brings together the most valuable principles of Chinese money management so that you can apply them in your daily life without feeling deprived. Here you will learn to track invisible expenses, reduce impulsive purchases, make better use of what you already have, and create a simple system that works even on difficult days. If you are here, it is because you want to change not only your bank balance, but your relationship with money. And that begins today. Before we go further, a quick note. No need to pause or take notes. There is a toolkit in the description with all the tools, steps, and a 7-day checklist. You can use it later when you are at your desk. Right now, just listen. Tool 1. Zero-based budgeting. Give every dollar a job. Chinese money management begins with a simple question. Where did every single yuan go this month? Not a vague estimate. Not a rough idea. An exact answer. This is zero-based budgeting. Every dollar of income gets assigned a purpose before the month even begins. Bills, food, savings, transportation, and even small treats all have a dedicated place. By the end of the month, your balance should be zero. Not because you spent everything, but because you allocated everything intentionally. This method eliminates financial fog. When you do not know where your money goes, it disappears into subscriptions you forgot about, coffees you did not enjoy, and impulse purchases that had no value. Zero-based budgeting forces you to pause and ask whether each expense aligns with your goals or just your autopilot habits. What is surprising is that this system does not demand perfection. You do not need to track every single transaction down to the cent. You just need to create categories, assign amounts, and check in weekly. The act of writing forces awareness. And awareness changes behavior. In Chinese culture, this practice is rooted in Confucian values of frugality and moderation. Frugality, or jian in Mandarin, is not about deprivation. It is about intentionality. It is about refusing to waste resources that took effort to earn. Here is how you implement it in your life. At the start of each month, list all sources of income. Then list every category where money will go. Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, savings, debt payments, entertainment, personal care, emergency fund contributions. Assign a specific dollar amount to each category. Make sure the total equals your income. If you have money left over, assign it to savings or debt reduction. If your expenses exceed your income, adjust categories until it balances. Throughout the month, track what you actually spend in each category. Use a notebook, a spreadsheet, or a budgeting app. The tool does not matter. The habit does. At the end of the month, review. Did you overspend in any category? Did you underestimate certain costs? Adjust your plan for next month based on what you learned. This is not a one-time exercise. This is a monthly rhythm that creates financial clarity. Practical illustration. A person who feels like money disappears without explanation starts using zero-based budgeting. They list all income and expenses at the beginning of the month. They assign $300 to groceries, $150 to transportation, $200 to savings, and so on. Halfway through the month, they notice they already spent $250 on groceries. They review their purchases and realize they bought prepared meals 3 times when they were tired after work. That simple observation helps them plan better. They prep meals on Sunday so they have food ready on busy nights. By the end of the month, they stayed within their grocery budget and had $50 left over. They moved that $50 to savings. What was once invisible is now under control. The purpose of zero-based budgeting is simple. You cannot change what you cannot see. And this system makes everything visible. If this is useful, subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell. It helps more people find these audiobooks. And now that you understand how to give every dollar a purpose, in the next tool you will discover the Chinese principle that turns saving into something automatic instead of something you have to force yourself to do. Tool 2. Pay yourself first, automate your savings. Chinese families do not wait until the end of the month to see if there is anything left over. They save first. Then they spend what remains. This is called paying yourself first. And it is the single most powerful habit that separates high savers from chronic strugglers. When you save what is left after spending, you will always find reasons why there is nothing left. An unexpected car repair. A birthday gift. A sale you could not resist. Life always fills the space. But when you save first, your brain adapts. You learn to live on what remains. And what remains is always enough. In Chinese culture, this principle is taught from childhood. During Lunar New Year and birthdays, children receive red envelopes filled with money called hongbao. Parents encourage them to save most of it instead of spending it all. This teaches delayed gratification and long-term thinking from an early age. Adults apply the same logic. The moment income arrives, a percentage is automatically moved to savings. It never touches the checking account. It is not available for spending. It is already gone. This eliminates the internal battle of deciding whether to save or spend. The decision is made in advance. Automation removes willpower from the equation. Here is how you implement it. Decide on a savings percentage. If you are new to saving, start with 10% of your income. If that feels too high, start with 5%. The amount matters less than the habit. Set up an automatic transfer. Schedule it for the day after your paycheck arrives. Move the money from your checking account to a separate savings account. Make sure the savings account is not linked to a debit card. Add friction to accessing it. If you get paid irregularly, use the same principle. The day income arrives, immediately move your chosen percentage to savings before you spend anything else. Increase the percentage over time. Once 10% feels comfortable, try 15%. Then 20%. Chinese families average 40%, but you do not need to match that immediately. You need to build the habit first. The key is consistency. Saving a small amount every month beats saving a large amount once in a while. Repetition creates momentum. Practical illustration. Someone who earns $3,000 per month decides to save 10%. They set up an automatic transfer of $300 on the first of every month. That money moves to a high-yield savings account before they even see it in their checking account. At first, they worry they will run out of money. But after 2 months, they realize they did not miss the $300. They adjusted their spending without thinking about it. They cooked at home 1 extra time per week. They delayed a non-urgent purchase. After 6 months, they have $1,800 saved. That is an emergency fund that did not exist before. They increased their savings to 15%. After a year, they have over $5,000. What once felt impossible now feels automatic. The purpose of paying yourself first is to make saving invisible. You do not rely on discipline. You rely on structure. And structure always wins. Quick recap before we move forward. You have learned 2 core tools. Zero-based budgeting gives every dollar a job. Paying yourself first makes saving automatic. If you only do one thing from this audiobook, automate your savings today. If you are driving or working out, just listen. The toolkit has the full steps. And now that you have automated savings, in the next tool you will discover the Chinese philosophy that helps you spend less without feeling deprived. Tool 3. The 10:1 rule, spend $1 for every 10 you earn. Chinese families who grew up in poverty practice a principle called the 10:1 rule. For every $10 you earn, you spend only $1. That is a 90% savings rate. And while most people cannot achieve that consistently, the principle itself is powerful. It creates a scarcity mindset that protects you from waste. The 10:1 rule is not about literal math. It is about a mental framework. It asks you to question every purchase. Do I really need this? Or am I spending because I can? In Western cultures, the default is to spend until the money runs out. In Chinese culture, the default is to save until you have a reason to spend. The burden of proof shifts. Spending requires justification. Saving does not. This does not mean you live like a monk. It means you distinguish between needs and wants. And when you do spend on wants, you look for the best long-term value instead of the cheapest short-term fix. Frugality is not the same as being cheap. Cheap means buying low-quality items that break quickly and cost more in the long run. Frugal means investing in quality when it matters and eliminating waste where it does not. Here is how you implement it. Before any non-essential purchase, pause for 24 hours. If you still want it the next day, evaluate whether it serves a real need or just a momentary impulse. Ask yourself 3 questions. Will I use this at least once per week for the next year? Does this replace something I already own that is broken or inadequate? If I do not buy this, will my life actually be worse? If the answer to all 3 is no, skip the purchase. If the answer to at least 2 is yes, consider it. For larger purchases, use the 10:1 rule literally. If something costs $100, ask yourself if you would still buy it if you had to work 10 times longer to afford it. That mental shift changes decisions fast. Track one category where you tend to overspend. For most people, this is food, clothes, or entertainment. For 1 month, reduce spending in that category by 20%. Notice what you actually miss versus what you do not. Practical illustration. Someone who buys lunch out every workday spends $12 per meal. That is $60 per week, or $240 per month. They decide to apply the 10:1 rule. They ask themselves if they would spend $2,400 to buy lunch for 1 month if they had to pay it all upfront. The answer is no. That feels absurd. So they experiment. They prep lunches on Sunday and bring them to work. They still buy lunch out once per week as a treat. Their new monthly cost is $60 instead of $240. They save $180 per month without feeling deprived. They redirect that $180 to paying off a credit card. In 6 months, the card is paid off. The interest savings compound. What was once an invisible leak becomes visible progress. The purpose of the 10:1 rule is to create friction before spending. It slows you down. It makes you think. And thinking prevents waste. And now that you know how to question your spending, in the next tool you will learn the Chinese strategy for making better use of what you already own instead of always buying more. Tool 4. Use what you have, the art of extending usefulness. In Chinese culture, there is a deep respect for objects. Not because they are valuable, but because they represent effort. Someone worked to earn the money. Someone worked to create the item. Wasting either is disrespectful. This is the art of using what you have. It is not about hoarding or refusing to replace broken things. It is about getting full value from what you already own before you buy more. Western consumer culture encourages constant replacement. New phone every 2 years. New clothes every season. New kitchen gadgets for every minor convenience. Chinese culture encourages repair, maintenance, and creative reuse. If something works, keep using it. If it breaks, fix it. If you cannot fix it, repurpose it. Only then do you replace it. This mindset automatically reduces spending because it eliminates the default assumption that new is better. Many financial leaks do not come from large purchases. They come from constant small replacements that could have been avoided with minimal care. Here is how you implement it. Choose one area of your home that tends to get cluttered or disorganized. Your closet, your kitchen, your desk, your bathroom. Gather everything in that area and sort it into 3 groups. What works perfectly? What can be repaired or cleaned? What is truly broken or useless? For the second group, repair or clean 1 item per week. Sew a button. Tighten a screw. Wash something you thought was ruined. You will be surprised how much is salvageable. For the third group, discard only what cannot be repurposed. Before throwing anything away, ask if it can serve a different function. An old shirt becomes a cleaning rag. A jar becomes storage. A box becomes organization. Review your recurring purchases. How many of them could be covered by what you already have? Most people buy duplicates because they cannot find what they own. Organization is silent saving. Create a simple maintenance routine. Sharpen knives. Change air filters. Clean appliances. Check tire pressure. Small actions extend the life of expensive items. Practical illustration. Someone who constantly buys new clothes realizes their closet is full of items they never wear. They sort everything into 3 piles. Pile 1 is clothes they wear regularly. Pile 2 is clothes that need minor repairs like missing buttons or loose hems. Pile 3 is clothes that no longer fit or are damaged beyond repair. They spend 1 hour repairing pile 2. 5 shirts that were unwearable are now back in rotation. They donate pile 3. They commit to a new rule. If something new comes in, something old goes out. Over the next 3 months, they buy 0 new clothes because they rediscovered items they forgot they owned. They save $200 that would have gone to impulse purchases. That $200 goes to their emergency fund instead. The purpose of using what you have is to stop the cycle of mindless consumption. You do not need more. You need better systems for what you already own. Quick recap before we move to the next section. You have learned how to budget intentionally, save automatically, question your spending, and use what you already have. These 4 tools alone can transform your financial life. If you are busy, just listen. The toolkit has everything written down so you can revisit this without rewinding. And now that you understand the foundation, in the next tool you will learn how to build a system that does not require you to think about it every single day. Tool 5. The envelope method. Physical cash creates psychological limits. Chinese families have used a version of the envelope method for generations. It is simple. You divide your cash into physical envelopes labeled with specific categories. Once an envelope is empty, you stop spending in that category. This works because physical cash creates psychological friction that digital payments do not. When you swipe a card, the pain of spending is abstract. When you hand over cash, the loss is tangible. Studies show that people spend 12 to 18% less when they use cash instead of cards. The physical act of handing over money forces a moment of awareness. You see what you are giving up. The envelope method combines this psychological advantage with the discipline of zero-based budgeting. You decide in advance how much you will spend in each category. You put that exact amount in each envelope. And you live within those limits. This does not mean you need to use cash for everything. You can use a digital version of the envelope method with budgeting apps or separate bank accounts. The principle stays the same. Create boundaries. Respect them. Here is how you implement it. Identify your most problematic spending categories. For most people, this is groceries, dining out, entertainment, and personal care. At the beginning of the month, withdraw the total cash you budgeted for these categories. Divide it into labeled envelopes. When you go shopping, bring only the relevant envelope. Leave the others at home. If the grocery envelope has $80 left, you can spend $80. Not $81. When an envelope is empty, you have 3 choices. Stop spending in that category until next month. Transfer money from another envelope if you truly need to. Or adjust your budget for next month if you consistently underestimate a category. Track what happens. Do you spend less when you use cash? Do you make better decisions? Do you avoid impulse purchases? Practical illustration. Someone who overspends on dining out decides to try the envelope method. They budget $120 per month for restaurants. At the beginning of the month, They withdraw $120 and put it in an envelope. Each time they eat out, they pay with cash from that envelope. By the third week, only $30 remains. They realize they have 1 week left. They decide to eat at home for the next 5 days and save the $30 for one nice meal on the weekend. In previous months, they would have swiped a card without thinking and spent $200 or more. This month, they stayed within budget. They did not feel deprived because they still had one restaurant meal. They just made it intentional instead of automatic. The purpose of the envelope method is to create awareness and limits. When you can see exactly what remains, you make better choices. And now that you have tools for controlling spending, in the next tool you will learn the Chinese principle that eliminates waste before it even happens. Tool 6. Distinguish needs from wants, the clarity filter. One of the reasons Chinese families save so much is that they are exceptionally clear about the difference between needs and wants. This clarity prevents justification. A need is something required for basic survival and function. Food, shelter, transportation, healthcare, education. A want is everything else. Entertainment, luxury items, conveniences, status symbols. The problem is that modern consumer culture deliberately blurs this line. Marketers convince you that wants are needs. A new car is not a want, it is a necessity for your commute. A designer bag is not a want, it is an investment in your professional image. Chinese culture rejects this manipulation. A car is a want if your current car works. A bag is a want if you already have one that functions. The justification does not matter. This does not mean you never buy wants. It means you acknowledge them as wants and make conscious decisions. When you spend on wants without calling them what they are, you create financial confusion. You wonder why you never have money even though you only buy what you need. But if you are honest, most of your purchases are wants dressed up as needs. Here is how you implement it. For 1 week, write down every single purchase. Next to each one, label it as a need or a want. Be ruthlessly honest. At the end of the week, add up how much you spent on needs versus wants. Most people discover that 60 to 80% of their spending is wants. This is not about shame. This is about awareness. Once you see the truth, you can make better decisions. For the next month, allow yourself wants. But before you buy, say out loud or write down, "This is a want, not a need. I am choosing to buy it anyway." That simple acknowledgement changes behavior. Sometimes you will still buy it. But often, you will realize you do not want it enough to justify the cost. Create a wants waiting list. When you want something, add it to a list and wait 30 days. If you still want it after 30 days, consider buying it. Most wants disappear before the 30 days are up. Practical illustration. Someone who loves coffee shops spends $6 per day on lattes. They tell themselves it is a need because they need caffeine to function at work. They apply the clarity filter. Is the latte a need? No. Coffee is available for free at the office. The latte is a want. They decide to make coffee at home and bring it in a thermos. They still buy a latte on Fridays as a treat. Their weekly spending drops from $30 to $6. They save $96 per month. That $96 goes to a vacation fund. In 1 year, they have $1,152 saved for a trip they have wanted to take. What was once an invisible daily habit becomes a visible long-term goal. The purpose of distinguishing needs from wants is to stop lying to yourself. Honesty creates control. And control creates progress. Midpoint recap. You have now learned 6 powerful tools. Zero-based budgeting. Paying yourself first. The 10:1 rule. Using what you have. The envelope method. And the clarity filter. If you only do one thing, start with paying yourself first. Automate a small percentage of your income to savings. Everything else builds from there. This is exactly what the toolkit is for. Keep listening now, then use the checklist later when you are at your desk. And now in the next tool, you will learn how Chinese families prepare meals at home and eliminate one of the biggest financial leaks most people have. Tool 7. Eat at home, the meal planning advantage. One of the simplest and most powerful Chinese saving strategies is cooking at home. This is not about complicated recipes or gourmet skills. This is about reducing the single largest category of wasteful spending for most people. The average person who eats lunch out 5 days per week and dinner out twice per week spends over $400 per month on restaurants. That is $4,800 per year. For a couple, that number doubles. Chinese families eat at home most of the time. They reserve restaurants for special occasions. This is not because they do not enjoy good food. It is because they understand the math. A meal at home costs $3 to $5 per person. A meal at a restaurant costs $12 to $20 per person. Over a month, that difference is enormous. But the real advantage is not just cost. It is control. When you cook at home, you control portion sizes, ingredients, and leftovers. Restaurants create waste. You order more than you need. You cannot take home what you do not finish. You pay for convenience that erodes your savings. Here is how you implement it. Plan your meals for the week every Sunday. Write down 7 dinners. Make a shopping list based on those meals. Buy only what is on the list. Prep ingredients on Sunday. Chop vegetables. Marinate protein. Cook rice or grains in bulk. When you come home tired on Wednesday, half the work is already done. Cook extra portions. Dinner becomes tomorrow's lunch. This eliminates the excuse that you do not have time to pack lunch. Allow yourself 1 or 2 restaurant meals per week as treats. Make them intentional. Choose restaurants you truly enjoy instead of defaulting to fast food out of convenience. Track your food spending for 1 month. Compare it to the previous month. Most people save $200 to $400 per month just by cooking at home more often. Practical illustration. Someone who spends $15 per day on lunch and $30 twice per week on dinner spends $375 per month on food. They decide to cook at home. They plan meals on Sunday. They prep ingredients. They pack lunch 4 days per week and cook dinner 6 nights per week. They still eat out once for lunch and once for dinner. Their new monthly food cost is $150 for groceries plus $60 for 2 restaurant meals. Total is $210. They save $165 per month without feeling deprived. That $165 goes toward paying off a student loan. In 1 year, they pay down an extra $1,980 in debt. The interest savings compound. What felt like a small change creates massive results. The purpose of eating at home is not to eliminate joy. It is to eliminate waste. You still enjoy food. You just stop spending money on meals you do not even remember. And now that you control your food spending, in the next tool you will learn the Chinese principle of avoiding debt and why paying cash creates financial freedom. Tool 8. Avoid debt. Pay cash whenever possible. Chinese culture has a strong aversion to debt. In traditional thinking, owing money is shameful. It represents living beyond your means and disrespecting your own effort. This is radically different from Western consumer culture, where debt is normalized. Credit cards. Car loans. Buy now, pay later. Everyone does it, so it must be fine. But debt is not fine. Debt steals from your future to pay for your past. Every dollar you owe is a dollar you cannot save or invest. Every interest payment is money that disappears into a bank's profit instead of building your wealth. Chinese families prefer to save first, then buy. If they cannot afford something with cash, they wait until they can. This delays gratification, but it creates financial freedom. When you pay cash, you own what you buy immediately. When you finance, you are renting with the illusion of ownership. Miss a payment, and it disappears. The psychological difference is enormous. Cash purchases force you to confront the true cost. Financing hides the cost behind small monthly payments that feel manageable but add up to far more than the original price. Here is how you implement it. List all your current debts. Credit cards. Car loans. Student loans. Personal loans. Write down the balance, interest rate, and minimum payment for each. Focus on paying off the highest interest debt first. This is usually credit cards. Make minimum payments on everything else and put all extra money toward the highest rate debt. Once that debt is gone, move to the next highest rate. Repeat until you are debt-free. For future purchases, create a simple rule. If you cannot pay cash, you do not buy it. The only exceptions are a home mortgage or education that increases earning potential. Save for large purchases in advance. Want a new car? Open a separate savings account and contribute monthly until you have enough to pay cash. It takes longer, but you avoid interest and own the car outright from day one. Practical illustration. Someone has $5,000 in credit card debt at 18% interest. They have been making minimum payments of $150 per month for 2 years, but the balance barely moves because most of the payment goes to interest. They decide to eliminate debt. They cut their restaurant spending and redirect $200 per month to the credit card. In 20 months, the debt is gone. They save over $1,500 in interest. Once debt-free, they redirect that $350 per month to savings. In 1 year, they have $4,200 in an emergency fund. They no longer need credit cards because they have cash reserves. The purpose of avoiding debt is to stop paying for the privilege of spending money you do not have. Debt keeps you stuck. Cash sets you free. This has been a complete journey through 8 core principles. Budgeting intentionally. Saving automatically. Questioning spending. Using what you have. Creating physical limits. Distinguishing needs from wants. Eating at home. Avoiding debt. Chinese families do not follow all of these perfectly, but they follow enough of them consistently that their savings rates are 10 times higher than most Western countries. You do not need to be perfect either. You just need to start. And now, in the next section, you will get the 2-minute version you can do today, followed by the 7-day Rewire Plan that will help you build these habits into your life. The 2-minute version. Do this today. If you only have 2 minutes, here is what you do right now. Step 1. Open your bank account or budgeting app. Look at your total income from last month and your total spending. Calculate the difference. That is how much you saved or overspent. Step 2. Set up an automatic transfer. Choose 10% of your income. Schedule it to move from checking to savings the day after your next paycheck. If 10% feels too high, start with 5%. Just start. Step 3. Write down 3 categories where you overspend. For most people, this is food, entertainment, and impulse purchases. Pick one category. Commit to reducing it by 20% this month. Step 4. Before you buy anything non-essential this week, wait 24 hours. If you still want it tomorrow, evaluate if it is a need or a want. If it is a want, ask if you would buy it if you had to pay 10 times the price. Step 5. Plan 1 week of dinners. Make a shopping list. Buy only what is on the list. Prep ingredients on Sunday. Pack lunch 3 times this week. That is it. 5 actions. 2 minutes to set up. Massive results over time. The small and consistent always defeats the big and unstable. You do not need perfection. You need momentum. The 7-day Rewire Plan. This is a 7-day plan to build Chinese saving habits into your daily routine. Each day takes 15 to 30 minutes. By the end of the week, you will have a system that works even on difficult days. Day 1. Track everything. Write down every single purchase you make today. Everything. Coffee. Parking. Groceries. Subscriptions. At the end of the day, label each purchase as a need or a want. Do not judge yourself. Just observe. Day 2. Create your zero-based budget. List all your income sources for this month. List all your expense categories. Assign a dollar amount to each category so that income minus expenses equals 0. If you have money left over, assign it to savings or debt repayment. Day 3. Automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer from checking to savings. Choose a percentage between 5% and 15%. Schedule it for the day after your paycheck arrives. Make it happen before you spend anything else. Day 4. Apply the 10:1 rule. Review your purchases from the past week. Identify one category where you overspent. Ask yourself if you would still spend that amount if you had to work 10 times longer to afford it. Commit to reducing that category by 20% this month. Day 5. Organize one area. Choose one cluttered area of your home. Your closet. Your kitchen. Your desk. Sort everything into 3 groups. What works? What can be repaired? What is broken? Repair 1 item. Discard only what cannot be repurposed. Day 6. Plan meals for the week. Write down 7 dinners. Make a shopping list based on those meals. Go to the store and buy only what is on the list. Prep ingredients when you get home. Cook extra portions so dinner becomes tomorrow's lunch. Day 7. Review and adjust. Look at your week. What worked? What felt hard? What do you want to continue? Adjust your budget categories based on what you learned. Commit to 1 habit you will keep doing next week. This is exactly what the toolkit is for. So keep listening now, then use the checklist later when you are at your desk. Chinese saving is not about one dramatic change. It is about small daily decisions that add up over time. You do not need to earn more. You just need to manage better what you already have. The question is not whether you can do this. The question is whether you will start today. Closing summary. Let me leave you with 3 core ideas. 1. Saving is not about willpower. It is about systems. Automate your savings. Create physical limits. Build routines that work even when you are tired. 2. Spending is not the problem. Waste is the problem. You can enjoy life and still save 40% of your income if you eliminate the leaks. Unused subscriptions. Forgotten purchases. Impulse buys that add no value. 3. You do not need a high income to build wealth. You need clarity. Know where every dollar goes. Distinguish needs from wants. Make small improvements every single day. Chinese families have been doing this for generations. Not because they are superhuman. Because they follow principles that work. You can start today with what you have, as you are. 1 small daily step can give you the stability you have always wanted. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell. And check out the free toolkit in the description so you do not have to take notes. And share this with 1 friend who feels like money disappears without explanation. Your future is not built on luck. It is built on decisions you make today.